All players will receive an extra action button. Tanks will receive a Resonant Barrier, which absorbs all damage for 6 seconds. Healers get Scattering Field, which spawns a purple bubble that anyone can stand in, which absorbs 50% of fire damage taken while in it. And DPS will get Time Dilation, which increases movement speed and attack speed by 30% for 7 seconds, or it's removed early if you take fire damage. These can be used multiple times through the fight. Phase 1 you'll be able to attack Gul'dan for a bit, but then he'll become invulnerable, so don't use CDs on him. He'll summon a Fel Lord ad that everyone should turn and kill. He'll cast Shatter Essence on his main target, so the tank should use Resonant Barrier before the cast is finished. Then tank swap. On Heroic, this ad will spawn a Fel Obelisk on the ground, stunning anyone who stands on them, so watch out for the ground. An Inquisitor ad will spawn most likely while the Fel Lord ad is still alive. All DPS should turn to kill the Inquisitor. Use cooldowns and time dilation on him. He's the highest priority ad and will spawn small eyes around the room that can overwhelm the raid. On Heroic, this ad will cast Drain on random players, which healers should dispel ASAP, or else it'll heal the Inquisitor. After Inquisitor is dead, kill the Fel Lord if still alive. Then turn to kill the third ad that spawns. This ad will cast Soul Vortex on the tank. The other tank should taunt off, and the tank with Vortex should move away from the raid. This will spawn a cage that pulls players in. Don't get near it. On Heroic, this ad will shoot out Anguished Spirits that no one should stand in to avoid taking extra damage. Also during this phase, Gul'dan will face a random direction and shoot a laser beam. Don't get hit by this. After these mini bosses are dead, everyone should move close to Gul'dan because he'll knock everyone back, and anyone who falls off the platform will die. Phase 2 starts here. Tank Gul'dan in the center, he'll cast Liquid Hellfire, which will spawn a green swirl on the ground, and once it hits the ground it will damage the raid for a significant amount. Healers should use Scattering Field when this happens, and DPS should get in these bubbles before it hits the ground. He'll also cast Bonds of Fel on random members, including the current tank, so the other tank should taunt off. DPS should stand on these players that have this debuff, and the debuff players should move to break their chains. The damage is reduced according to the amount of players who stack. Gul'dan will spawn multiple Eyes of Gul'dan. Players who the Eyes target should not stand near anyone, and these Eyes are top priority and should die ASAP. Through this phase, no DPS should ever stand on the tanks. You'll want the tanks to stack every 11 or 12 seconds to trigger Gul'dan's Fel Scythe, which uses some of his energy. You don't want him to hit 100 energy. At 85% health, Gul'dan empowers his Bonds of Fel to knock players back and it'll deal more damage. Same rules apply with players having to stand on those targets. The tank with this should use a large cooldown or Resonant Barrier if available. At 70% health, the Liquid Hellfire will become empowered and leave a patch on the ground that no one should stand in. At 55% health, the Eye of Gul'dan is empowered. It will spawn a single eye with more health and target multiple players. Kill this ASAP. On Heroic during this phase, Gul'dan will summon a Dreadlord that all DPS should turn and kill. He'll cast Carrion Wave, which deals large damage to the raid, and is interruptible, but once interrupted he'll gain a stacking buff called Focused Assault. Kill him before the stack's too high. Phase 3 happens once Gul'dan reaches 40% health. Players should be stacked towards the center because a gust of wind will occur which you want to run against. Tanks should bring him to one side of the room, and Fel Scythe will still occur that you want to trigger every 11-12 seconds like Phase 2. Empower Eye will spawn, which should still be killed. Ranged players deal with a new ability called Flames of Sargeras. Keep moving away from the raid and towards the sides of the room because this will spawn a desolated ground on your feet. Random players will receive a Soul Siphon debuff, which is a healing absorption shield that should be healed off. For every player siphon there will be a soul that appears in the middle well. Range should stand in the well to remove the souls before Black Harvest is cast. For every soul a DPS takes, they'll receive a Soul Corrosion debuff, which can do a lot of damage if stacked too high, so you shouldn't take more than 2 stacks of that. Gul'dan will deal unavoidable damage called Black Harvest to the raid. Use healing cooldowns on this. It'll deal more damage if there are souls in the well. And finally, Gul'dan will cast Storm of the Destroyer, which everyone should run away from when he starts casting this. It will be a series of 4 explosions around him that grow in size.